My name's Lilianne Milgrom, and welcome. And after I finish my talk, I think you'll know quite a lot about me. I've become quite adept at setting up home and studio in new locations. I've done it in Australia, in France, in Israel, and in the United States. And when I arrive in a new city, I always look for the local art community, and I try to instinctively seek that out. And that's only natural, because apart from really enjoying being exposed to the new art, the music, the theater, I've discovered, and obviously it's clear, that the most interesting people seem to gravitate to those places also. And no matter what the culture, no matter what the language, there is a universal and common language for a love of culture and an open exchange of ideas, and that's what I am seeking out when I come to a new location. When I arrived in Fairfax, I have to admit that it was initially quite difficult to find the really tangible sense of artist community, especially outside of the Beltway. I felt quite isolated and despairing, and I didn't know quite what to do, but with persistence and quite relentless hard work, my career did take off in this area as well, and I'm proud to say that I have participated in over 50 local, national, international, solo and group shows in the 8 years since I've been here. So it's been a lot of hard work, but very rewarding. Today, though, I still feel that there's a need for a stronger and more established, connected community of artists in Fairfax County. And this is precisely why the Arts Council of Fairfax County plays such a critical role. By supporting those organizations that in turn support individual artists, it fosters an environment for creativity and for artistic dialogue. Now, without getting too melodramatic, I truly believe, as you touched upon, that art nourishes the roots of our culture. And so it behooves us to nurture and to invest in the artists of our community. And I applaud the Strauss Fellowship Awards for that, and their stated mission, which I'll repeat, which is to support and encourage Fairfax County's finest creative artists in all disciplines and recognize professional working artists' achievements and their demonstrated history of accomplishments. Working in any creative discipline is largely a solitary endeavor, and sometimes it feels like you're working in a vacuum. Self-doubt and rejection come as part of the whole experience. So by rewarding and promoting local talent, the Strauss Fellowships actually enable a number of really deserving artists to continue their pursuit of their creative work. And tonight we celebrate the 2012 recipients and the winners. I was one of those fortunate recipients. I call myself a visual artist, which is really an umbrella term which embraces my very broad artistic practice. I paint, I work in sculpture, I do video and installation, and I also write on the arts. So receiving the award was extremely encouraging and affirming, totally affirming, and a welcome acknowledgement for my efforts, which I'm sure every recipient feels. And I know for a fact that the award helped pave the way for future opportunities that I sought to pursue. But what I really want to talk to you about tonight is serendipity. Because, again, as you said, when opportunities come our way, it's so important to take those chances. And my visual arts career did not take the conventional path, and so I relied on serendipity an awful lot to get me where I am today. And if you'll bear with me, I would like to share a story which illustrates this point, but I'm warning you that there are a lot of twists and turns, and you might have to concentrate on what I'm saying. So the story begins thus. It all began about 2 years ago when I applied for an artist residency at the Cité des Arts in Paris. Well, my proposal was rejected. What was my proposal? It was to explore the murky and I feel very relevant subject of sexuality and aging. And it's kind of ironic that part of the reason I found out later was that I was rejected was because of my age. Okay. So anyway, I was totally dejected, but I was still burning to do this, and what better place to explore this subject than in Paris? So I remembered that an artist friend of mine in Israel had told me about a woman who occasionally offers her Parisian loft to visiting artists. I followed up with this generous patron, mentioning, of course, my fellowship award. And a few months later, I found myself in Paris for an extended stay, without so much as a clue as to how or where to begin my project. On my second day there, I visited the d'Orsay Museum to see, amongst other masterpieces, L'Origine du Monde, The Origin of the World, painted by Gustave Courbet in 1866. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with this erotic masterpiece, but once you see it, I assure you, you're not going to easily forget it. Just out of interest, who here does know or has seen this piece or know about this piece? Okay. So it's basically a portrait of a woman's genitals, without face, without limbs. To make a long story short, I was immediately enamored by this painting, and considering its title, The Origin of the World, I knew there and then that this was the place to start. I defied all bureaucratic obstacles and managed to obtain official permission from the museum to copy this painting, and I'm the first artist to have done so. The experience, as you can imagine, was quite an eye-opener on many levels. My interaction with the public, though, while I was copying this work, was so fascinating, and I began writing a blog about my experiences, and things started getting really interesting after that. A collector of my work from DC was visiting Paris and suggested we meet for coffee at the museum, and she happened to bring along with her a friend who happened to be the editor of Bonjour Paris, which is a publication about Paris. This editor became very interested in my project and read my blog, and soon I was moonlighting as the arts writer for Bonjour Paris. Okay? The exposure from this writing gig led to some very interesting prospects, some of which I'll share with you. While still in Paris, I was contacted by a beautiful young poet who was compiling an anthology on the uterus. I guess considering I was in essence copying a painting of a vagina, she figured that I might have something to say about the uterus, which I did. Okay, fast forward 18 months, and the book Dans le ventre des femmes has just been released in Paris, and there is now talk of a group exhibition in Paris in October by the artists who participated in this book. So are you getting the gist about serendipity? Because it just gets better. While I was painting at the d'Orsay Museum, I felt that it was imperative to film the experience, and I collaborated with a local videographer to capture the interaction I was having with the public. This documentary video is actually, as we speak, on its way to an international arts festival in Edinburgh. So that's really wonderful. Okay, so when I returned from Paris, I was surfing the web and came across a very interesting subscription publication called The Great Nude, based in New York. I sent the publisher some of my Bonjour Paris links, and I am now the official feature writer for The Great Nude. Through this partnership, my self-portraits have been exhibited at a booth of a major art fair in New York City. Pretty amazing turn of events. And now here's the postscript for this whole serendipitous narrative. 3 days ago, I was contacted by Harriet Welty Rochefort, the author of French Toast and French Fry. I don't know if any of you have read it. They're pretty good books. She was requesting permission to quote me in her third upcoming book. Which brings me to the concluding part of this little narrative. Going by the response to my Parisian experiences, I decided to undertake the monumental task of writing a book about the many adventures that I had while intimately engaged with Courbet's iconic painting. My first few chapters have gotten some nibbles from agents, but I just don't have time to dedicate myself to completing it. So perhaps it's time to think about applying for the next Strauss fellowship. Anyway, if there's one recommendation I would propose to ensure the lasting impact of the Strauss Fellowship Awards, it would be to extend its role beyond just bestowing of the generous awards. Offering greater opportunities for the applicants to network would fulfill a real need within the local arts community. wonderful things happen when you get a bunch of creative people together in the same place. And a perfect example is last year's Strauss alumni reunion, organized by the Arts Council of Fairfax at Goodwin House in Arlington. And it was a particularly productive afternoon for me. Again, I would put it down to serendipity. It was at this event that I met Gina Beaver, who, her work, it's still like playing in my mind, who agreed to let me use one of her very original soundtracks on a re-edit of a short film that I had filmed in Israel several years ago. I also met on the same day Linda Smith-Booge, the arts director at Goodwin House and the director of its beautiful gallery there. And I guess you wouldn't be surprised at this stage to learn that Linda will be organizing my one-woman show in September entitled Chez Mes Amis, featuring none other than the portraits of my friends that I made in Paris. So I hope to see you all at the opening. In fact, my presence here tonight can be traced directly back to that afternoon. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Lisa Merriam and the Arts Council of Fairfax County for inviting me to address all of you tonight. Congratulations to the new winners. And whether you want to call it chance, the winds of fate, or sheer coincidence, remember to look out for and invite serendipity into your lives. You'll be a lot richer for it. Thank you.